The aughts were truly the best of times and the worst of times. Then, much like now, we were caught up in a quagmire in the Middle East, had an absolute lolcow for our president, and folks were surprisingly comfortable using the R word. But you know what made it all bearable? Star Wars games. Now, these days, there's a lot of revisionist history about the Star Wars prequels. I was there. I remember how vitriolic Gen X were about those movies. They made a whole documentary about how George Lucas diddled their childhood. But while they were busy complaining about the debatable quality of the prequels, I was busy living my best life with the glut of Star Wars games that were released between 1999 to 2005. No matter how you feel about the prequels, it's hard to argue that it wasn't the golden age of Star Wars games. So today, to celebrate Star Wars Day, I'm going to take a look back at some of my favorite games from this era, starting with Republic Commando. I replay Republic Commando every May like clockwork. I love squad-based tactical shooters, and to my knowledge, Republic Commando is the only game in the genre set in a galaxy far, far away. You control Delta Squad, a group of 4 clones who go on increasingly dangerous missions as the Clone Wars continue. There's a wide variety of missions, from extraction, infiltration, demolition, you name it, you're probably doing it in this game. What made it so special to me as a kid when it came out is that it really gave a depth of feeling to the Clone Wars that we hadn't really gotten at the time. Well, yes, there was the fantastic 2002 Clone Wars cartoon. Republic Commando just really made the Clone Wars real to me in a way that nothing would do until we got the big Clone Wars series and shows like The Bad Batch. The other thing I really love about this game is that it pretty much is the closest thing we ever got to a Tom Clancy game set in the Star Wars universe, and I loved Tom Clancy games growing up. I still love revisiting them. It's not like the brand's doing anything too great these years, but that's a topic for another video. While you can't directly control your 3 other squad members, you can direct them to take certain strategic points, revive one another, and of course, blow shit up. The gunplay still feels good, and the game largely holds up due to its relatively singular nature as the only tactical shooter set in a galaxy far, far away. And as I said, the Clone Wars and Bad Batch really did flesh out the Clone Wars and are technically canon. Well, this is Legends, but I don't care. Republic Commando still holds a special place in my heart, and Delta Squad is still real to me, damn it. Next, I want to talk about the Dark Forces Jedi Knight series. Before Cal Kestis, there was Kyle Katarn. The Jedi Knight series followed Kyle Katarn as he went from a mercenary working for the New Republic to becoming a Jedi Knight in his own right. I remember playing Jedi Knight Dark Forces 2 as a kid and losing my mind when you finally get your lightsaber. This game was so unique for its time in that it had branching narrative paths depending on if you're choosing the light side or the dark side, which I loved as a kid, though, you know, I didn't understand why I couldn't be a Jedi and use Force Lightning. I mean, come on, what are we doing here? Its sequels, Jedi Knight 2 and Jedi Knight Academy, were arguably some of the best lightsaber gameplay we would get until Jedi Fallen Order and Jedi Survivor so many years later. I'd argue that Jedi Knight 2 is the Arkham Asylum of Star Wars games, in the sense that when Arkham Asylum first came out, it was noted how it was the first game to truly make you feel like Batman. Well, Jedi Knight 2 was one of the first games to truly make you feel like a Jedi. Now, playing it in 2026, a little rough around the edges. Definitely feels like they decided to go in Stormtrooper mode when designing the early shooting sections, and I don't know if that's just because the way technology has advanced, but boy, I tell ya, was not having a great time. But in 2002 and 2005, when these games originally came out, oh my god, they were game-changing, and that's the feeling we're focusing on today. Hey, Maybe you're not entirely focused on being a Jedi. Maybe you want to focus on the war and Star Wars. Well, luckily, the Battlefront series got your back. Me and my childhood friend Mikey were obsessed with Star Wars as kids, and while we loved the Episode 3 dual mode, it really was Battlefront 1 and 2 that we spent most of our time on. I mean, sleepovers weren't even sleepovers. They were just marathon Battlefront sessions punctuated by the occasional bout of sleep. Battlefront was a large-scale third-person shooter that lets you recreate some of the most iconic battles from the series. While Battlefront 1 was solid, Battlefront 2 is where it was at, y'all. You had more maps, space combat, an actually decent campaign. You can control the Jedi and Sith Lords, everything you could want in a large-scale Star Wars game. Battlefront 2 had. This game was just different, y'all. Like, I stayed on this for years. It was up there with Republic Commando for me in terms of how often I would revisit it. Like, real talk, we wouldn't get another Star Wars game to replicate the way this game feels until, well, Battlefront 2 in 2017, and quite honestly, I'm mad that in both the original and reboot series, we have never gotten a Battlefront 3 that gives us the thing we all want, which is going from space combat to ground combat. Like, I just don't know why Battlefront 3 has proven to be so elusive, especially as Battlefront 2 2017 had a surprisingly long life for an online multiplayer game. Y'all know I'm not gonna do a video about Star Wars video games and not go into all the vehicle-based bangers we got back in the day. We had Star Wars Episode 1 Racer, Demolition, Clone Wars, Rogue Squadron, Battle of Naboo, the Starfighter games. Whatever vehicle you wanted to operate, there was probably a game focused on that experience. And honestly, that's what made this era of Star Wars games so special. There wasn't just one template for a Star Wars game. You want to be a bounty hunter? There's a game for that. You want to be an X-Wing pilot? There's a game with that. Hell, you want to live out your Admiral Thrawn fantasies and take a more strategic overview of the titular Star Wars? Empire at War is right there, baby. Hell, KOTOR 1 and 2 are arguably the best prequels in the entire Star Wars franchise. Those games are a saga unto themselves, and that's the thing I really loved about this era of Star Wars games, that it really expanded just how vast the galaxy far, far away truly is, and it also focused on all eras of Star Wars, introducing new ones with the Old Republic. Like, I just miss it, y'all. I just miss it. Growing up in this era is why I was flummoxed when Disney announced that EA would be the exclusive licensee of Star Wars games for a decade back in 2013. While Battlefront 2's launch is undoubtedly the most EA shit to ever happen, I do think they got it together. And if we look at the EA era of Star Wars games, most of the games they published range from good to great, but by virtue of being one publisher, they could only make so many games. Squadrons is solid, but it's the only modern starfighter game we've got. Battlefront 2 was great, but it's been 10 years since the last entry. I enjoy the Jedi series, but again, the only Jedi-focused games we've got. Now, I don't want to be a negative Nancy and act like the best years of Star Wars games are behind us. As a result of EA's exclusivity deal ending, we're already seeing more Star Wars games than we got in that 10 years. And while some of that output has been kind of mid, like Star Wars Outlaws, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't excited for Galactic Racer and Zero Company. I want to be excited about Fate of the Old Republic, but I have seen way too many games get trailers way too early in development and either get stuck in development hell or just never come out, like the KOTOR remake or Star Wars Eclipse. Remember Star Wars Eclipse? Of course you don't. If you're a youngin' and you've never played any of the games that I talked about throughout this video, most of them are easily available, and I definitely recommend checking some of them out. Republic Commando in particular. The Jedi Knight games, it's very much like you had to be there for that to still hit. And if you're someone who grew up with these games and haven't replayed them in a while, I definitely would recommend revisit them. I do it like every May, and I gotta tell you, it's always a blast and just reminds me why I love this world so much. So with that, I've been Joe. This has been Taste. Thank you. Love you. I'll see you in the next one.